Good afternoon, everyone. There's a hashtag floating around the social media that reads, "We got this." In other words, no matter what else happens, we can do it ourselves. And as I told the UN Secretary General at a meeting this week, those three words, "we got this," sum up, I think, America's response to President Trump's decision to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Cities, states, businesses, university leaders, and other organizations all came out to affirm their commitment to the Paris Agreement back then and to say to the world, we can do this. And the truth of the matter is, I think we can. The U.S., I'm happy to say, is already halfway towards achieving its Paris commitment. And that progress happened even though Congress hasn't passed any legislation to reduce emissions. But cities, states, and businesses have led the way because they understand the economic and health benefits of action. And now all of them are accelerating their efforts. And in some ways, President Trump has helped that because by bringing this to the forefront, people have said whether they're for or against, and those who want to do something, I think, are more energized than ever before. Last summer, Bloomberg Philanthropies teamed up with Governor Jerry Brown of California. Jerry, welcome to New York. We're happy to have you here. Spend some money. You do too much of that in California. We need the business here. Jerry Brown, seriously, has been a great governor of California, and we've teamed up with him to organize all these groups into a single reporting structure. That effort we're calling America's Pledge, and it will allow us to aggregate, quantify, and report our progress alongside the nationally determined contributions that every other nation submitted as part of the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement required reporting. You have to actually, to a central site on a common basis, say what you're doing. Since the American government, if they do pull out, is not going to be doing that, we've made the commitment to do exactly that. So everything that we do will be fully disclosed. We'll report on issues that our issues report was made available to the UN as well as to all other parties, just as every other nation does, so that the world really can hold us accountable for meeting our targets. And we think that we'll create a blueprint for further climate action for each sector to ensure that we do. It's important for the world to know the American government may have pulled out of the Paris Agreement, but the American people are committed to its goals. And CEOs, mayors, and governors are ready to lead where Washington won't. And so far, about 250 American cities and counties, 9 states, and more than 1,700 businesses and investors have committed to helping the U.S. reach our Paris goal. And the coalition is continuing to grow, and it is our hope that this kind of effort will take place in every country around the world, and we could be an example for them. To help ensure that it does, our foundation is joining Governor Brown to co-chair the Global Climate Action Summit in California next year, and we'll be joined by 2 other co-chairs who are with us today. Patricia Espinosa, the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Climate Change Office, and Anand Mahindra, Chairman of the Mahindra Group. And the summit will bring together all of the different groups that play a role in fighting climate change, including leaders of cities and states and businesses. And we're glad to have the leaders of 2 global companies here to share their support for the summit. Diane Hoskins from Gensler, which is the largest architecture and design firm in the United States, and Isabelle Kocher from the French company ENGIE, which is the world's largest independent energy utility. They know what they're doing, and they know what their responsibilities are, and they're willing to stand up. And it's just great to see companies that you wouldn't think would be there leading the way are. And I think, as Tim Cook said this morning, it really tells you something about the culture of the company if they're willing to stand up and do what's right, even if it's going to give them a little bit of aggravation with some of their investors. Around the world, we need to empower local and regional governments to take action and to work with business leaders to leverage their resources and expertise. That's true not only about climate change, but about all of the challenges facing our world, creating good jobs, building modern infrastructure, stopping terrorism, improving public health, the list goes on and on. All of those challenges requires expertise, technology, and resources that governments alone can't supply. And that's the idea that drives today's Bloomberg Global Business Forum. America's Pledge is a powerful example of what's possible when the public and private sectors come together, and I want to thank Governor Brown for helping to lead the effort and for helping to show the way forward through his work in California. Governor, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Mike has really said it all, but just to put it in very crisp and clear terms, today we're announcing the Global Climate Summit to be held in San Francisco next September. And the co-chairs, Patricia Espinosa, Michael Bloomberg, and Anand Mahindra are joining with us in a very powerful leadership group. Now, we know from the day's headlines there's lots of stuff going on. From Mexico to the Gulf to North Korea, there's always stuff happening. Nevertheless, the climate is warming and changing and transforming, and we can't stop dealing with that while we deal with the daily challenges that are always with us. So this summit is an action summit that will reveal to the world what each of these individual corporations, cities and states and universities are already doing and what they plan to do. So this is not something we have a gab session in a year. Between this September and next September, we'll be working to identify what each of these participating members can do, will do, and then that's what we'll announce. But it's all action-driven. And we are in a situation where the president is pulling out of what he calls the Chinese hoax. But the rest of the world is not pulling out. We're engaged, and we're going to make sure through this summit that the subnational groups and units, corporate entities, cities, states, that we're all in and we're doing real stuff. So that's what's going to happen at our climate summit. We want you to know about it, and it is very significant. And despite the cacophony of news and activity, there's a big challenge called climate change, which, if not dealt with effectively, will make everything else worse. So whatever is happening today that is not good, it'll be much worse in 5 years, 10 years, and catastrophic in 20 or 30 years. That's why action is urgent, and the September summit in San Francisco will be another step on the road to dealing with this existential threat called climate change. Thank you.